So you guys just had like a pretty big episode recently where Willa Holland's Thea kind of like she's left the show. What was it like to say goodbye to her and see like one of the core members of the cast from the original season 1 depart?
It was very emotional. I was able to watch the episode live last night, and I thought Willa's performance was just beautiful. And I think that she's one of my favorite characters on the show, and I think she's so immensely talented. I was actually just talking about it over breakfast with my husband. I was like, wow, she was in the show for such a long time. I think she did such a good job, and it was just a beautiful send-off. You know, on set it was emotional, and it was really cool because a lot of old people reunited, a lot of old friends, and I think it was just a really, really lovely tribute, the episode itself, and I think Will was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I actually really liked how it was kind of, it was almost like setting her up for her own adventures almost, which is unique, you know, for like sending a character away. But she's like, oh wait, she's actually going off on another adventure.
Yeah, no, totally. I like that too. She's still alive and well, and now she has this whole new like sense of purpose, and they should do a speedy spinoff.
Yeah. So what's in store for Donna Drake as we're coming to the close of season 6 here? What can we expect to see from her?
I think Dinah she's really gone through an emotional and spiritual roller coaster this season. I think she's really kind of, because of the great loss that she went through and going through another tragedy again, like she kind of lost herself to find herself. So she's just going to be coming into, I think, a new phase, a new approach to her position as the Black Canary and her position as Dinah, as herself. I think that the moment where she understood that vengeance is not necessarily the best way to get justice, and that, violence isn't the best way to seek justice or to, be a hero, it's just going to be a new kind of Dinah. She's going to be a little more zen maybe in her approach.
Well, that's sounds pretty cool. How is that going to like work with? You're kind of at odds with the Green Arrow right now. Will we see maybe like a reconciliation, where you guys get back together, or? I
think Dinah's always going to challenge the head of the team, whoever it is, if it's not her. I think like that's just kind of in her nature. I think that Dinah and Oliver are actually great together. I do think that they fight well together, they work well together. From the moment that he found her, he kind of pulled her out of, again, this sort of like downward thing that I don't just say downward, this like dark place that she falls into. He pulled her out of it, so I think she really cares for him, and I do hope that on some level they get to work together and be a team together again. But it's going to be a process, because again, she's strong-headed.
Right. I think that's what's I really actually like that about the portrayal of the characters, that she is so strong-headed, and we saw that from the season 5 when you were first introduced. It's one of my favorite parts of the character. It like really stood out.
Yeah. Cool.
So when you're like getting ready to maybe just go on set, is there like I'm a big hockey fan, so like kind of just as a metaphor, like hockey goalies are always there, just kind of they have these idiosyncrasies and patterns that they do before they before the big game. They're just kind of known for being kind of like weird or whatever. From the rest of the team, is there any kind of rituals that you do before you like get ready to go on set?
I like that question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I definitely. Yes, I don't think I've ever really thought about what it is like. Well, what do I do? I always do deep breathing. Like I'll always do like a few deep breaths, at least try to take one deep breath before every scene and just center myself. I try to sort of, what do I do? I kind of put myself, I think about a lot of the things that Dinah stands for too. I try to like take a moment to like think about the people that, from the people in Star City and the fantasy world to the people who actually like watch the show. Like little kids that look up to her and stuff, and just like I take a moment and come into her, and then I start the scene. But I always try to do it just like within the first 5 seconds before they call action.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot going through your first 5 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, maybe. You don't have a lot of time. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that was funny. Remember last night? And they're like, action. And they're like, oh. But you try to not do that and take a moment. I say that's my ritual, but it's not something I've ever really thought through before. But I'd say that it's important to have that.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's pretty cool. So there's obviously a lot of action scenes on Arrow, and you're involved in quite a bit of them. Is there anything specific that you do as far as like an exercise regimen to make sure that Donna Drake's like her best to fight crime?
Yeah, I think this role, one of the things that has been the most beneficial thing for me in real life is that I've been able to really become stronger physically. And so I try to get to the gym at least, when we're working, it's hard sometimes because it's long days, but I try to get to the gym at least 3 days a week now. When beginning of the season, I was going 5 to 6 days, which was awesome. But I just kind of do basic like weight training exercises mostly. That's what I'm really into right now. And like basic body weight stuff like push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups. I feel like if I can eat healthily and get good sleep and be able to do just those things well, then I'm in a good place to like just feel like Dinah, and feel at my best.
So Stephen Amell has done American Ninja Warrior. Any plans for you to be on there?
Yeah, I'm going to be on next season. No, I haven't.
Oh, that's awesome.
No,
Oh, was that a joke?
Yeah, some.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
No, I think I can do 4 pull-ups and then I pretty much need an ambulance.
So you're not gonna be taking on that salmon ladder that's in the Arrow cave.
No, actually, we are working on that. I worked with the stunt team this season to get up there, and I almost, I kind of like got one. So once you can get one, what I've been told, and Steven the other day was trying to show me how to do it, and I was told that once you kind of get one and you have that feeling, then you can, it's kind of easy to make your way up. So that is a very top of my priority list as far as my exercise regime and my strength training and stuff. I'm like, I want to tackle that salmon ladder.
Yeah, I like how it's just kind of become like an iconic thing in the show, and like there's like last season there was the whole like flashback scenes with Felicity and Oliver with the salmon ladder. I actually like how it all like revolved around that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that too. I thought, it's just sort of there, like it has its own presence it's its own character on the show.
Yeah,
I definitely want to be able to do that at some point. It's really very cool. Like it's basically a pull-up, but it's just like a energized pull-up.
right. Yeah, you have to like carry your own momentum and swing your body.
Yeah, that's it. It's a momentum. Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of change directions here a little bit. So before you took on the role of Donna Drake in Black Canary, were you pretty familiar with the character? Or was she kind of new to you?
No, it was very new to me, and I didn't even know I was auditioning for the Black Canary when I auditioned for her. It was all very new, and I had to do a lot of research and reading and watching, and but it was, it was humbling to say the least, because you feel like you're really coming into something huge, and you want to do it justice. But no, I mean, in a way, it was nice because I had no preconceived notions about who she was. I was able to just create her in that moment.
So what was some of the research that you did? You said you did a lot of reading. Was there any like specific stories that you read from like the comics, or what did they recommend that you read to get to know her a little bit better?
Well, I just read through. The only comic I've read is one of Gail Simone's Birds of Prey comics, and I thought so. I kind of I read through that, and then I just went online and I did a lot of digging. saw every version of the Black Canary that I could find. I just went on like web spirals and different, because there are also different like versions. There's, obviously in my show there's different versions, and in the comics there's Donna Drake and Dinah Laurel Lance, and I had to learn everything.
Right.
So I just went online and I tried to gather as much information, and I processed it, and then I used that to put it all together. But and then of course watching Arrow too. I had 5 seasons of Arrow to watch at that point as well. So it's just a lot of everything, I guess.
Right. So aside from you are the Black Canary, but are there any other superheroes you would want to play, maybe on the Marvel side?
Oh my God. I would have to play like Storm and X-Men. Like all of the X-Men characters really intrigue me. I would even, I know Wolverine is my favorite character, and I don't know how I would live in that world, but I would love to at some point.
Well, they showed, so I don't know if you saw Logan, but they introduced X-23 as a young girl, but in the comics she's actually a young woman, so there's a possibility.
Really?
Yeah. She's actually Wolverine. She actually has the Wolverine title right now in the comics. It's pretty cool.
I had no idea. That's exactly who I would want to play. Like 1,000%. That's so cool.
Yeah. That would be really cool. See you, like, if you were with Daphne, like they do, like kind of like what they do with Arrow with the flashbacks, like Daphne Keene is like a younger version still, and then we get the older version in the present or in the extended future. It'd be pretty cool.
Listen, if you write it, I will accept the role.
I'll have to work on that.
That's so cool. Yeah, I would love to do something like
that. Especially with the X-Men, like with the Disney Marvel merger, we totally see the X-Men in the MCU too soon.
Oh yes, it's right.
So one of the big things that's been going on in Hollywood is the Me Too movement, and the Arrowverse has kind of been directly affected by that. With Andrew Kreisberg being removed from a number of the shows. How have you seen that affect the show's environment and overall in Hollywood? Has it been a positive movement? Because there's also been some pushback from like Michael Douglas and TJ Miller, who's in Deadpool and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So there's kind of there's a lot of different things going on. Just how have you seen that movement play out? Oh, so Michael Douglas was accused of inappropriate behavior, and he just kind of got out in front of it and denied it. And it was happened when he, like 30 years ago. It was like his secretary.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I hadn't even heard that. See, that's the crazy. It's like all of this, like when you bring it out to light, you're forced to look at it. And so I think that in general, not to say the Me Too, it sounds weird to say the Me Too movement is positive, because obviously it's based on a lot of pain and horrible things that happen to women. But what comes out of knowing about it and talking about it is positive. And I think it was no different for Arrow. And we talked about it on set openly. We talked about if people felt comfortable, and the men on set were held accountable. And I think we have a great cast and crew. And so, at least in my world of the show, it was a good thing. We also got a lot of good female directors this year, more than I remember having last year. I think that all in all, it was really disappointing what happened. I spent time with Andrew, and I had no idea. So it was good that it ended up that we talked about it. We looked at our situation, made sure everybody was good, and continued to do great work and make sure we were treating all the women right. And but it's just so upsetting what happened. It is. It's upsetting that any of it is happening. But it is. So we do what we have to do to fix it now.
Yeah, and I think there's obviously already been a lot of changes to fix a lot of this stuff. And one of the things we're seems to be a change that's happening is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are now including inclusion riders on with their companies. What do you think of those, where they're requiring like more women and more people of color?
Oh, I think that's wonderful. I think it's great because you need different voices to tell stories, and essentially that's what we are. And if you have we're storytellers, and if you have a room full of all the same kind of person, all the same sex or whatever it is, all the same gender or all the same race, it doesn't make for the kind of storytelling that we should be doing, and especially with women and people of color being in the position that we are in, and having faced and come up over discrimination and not being paid equally, and I think it's great on all ends. And I have not heard about that, but I would encourage a lot more people to do that. Just make sure everybody's voice is included.
All right, so we're gonna switch topics. We're gonna move away from some of the heavy stuff now. So obviously Arrow takes up a lot of your time, but what else are you kind of working on right now, or do you have in the works?
Well, it does take up a lot of my time, and honestly, outside of Arrow right now, I go home and I spend time with my husband, and we have 3 dogs, and I play music, and I write, and I just I work out, and I kind of am trying to just recharge in the off time and think about Arrow, because we do 23 episodes 10 months a year. So I have a lot to think about. I feel very fulfilled right now, kind of with this role. So that's it is sort of like my life right now. I mean, that sounds maybe kind of intense, but it's not. It's lovely. And other than that, I'm just trying to have a wonderful family life at home.
No, that's fantastic. I love hearing that. That's kind of the way I feel right now with my job too. So that's good.
That's awesome. That is really nice. That's cool.
So I know you're also doing you've been traveling around in the kind of break that you have right now. You're going to a bunch of conventions. You were just in London, I believe, a couple weeks ago. What's kind of been your favorite place? What's kind of been your favorite place to go?
Well, we've been to London, actually. We're doing Europe and Australia and all that in the summer. This hiatus is coming. But so far we've done Nashville, and we've stayed kind of within the States. And we've done Atlanta and Portland. And my favorite place to go so far, well, probably Atlanta. Just because I knew it already from The Walking Dead. We spent some time there, and we went out. It was David Ramsey's birthday, and just had the best time. It was such nice people, and but honestly, all the places we've traveled so far have been great. That's one of my favorite parts about this job as well, is just being able to travel and meet everybody. Yeah.
So I know earlier you talked about the people looking up to you. Have you kind of had one of those moments when you're at a convention where these people have been coming up to you and they look up to you as a hero? Can you kind of maybe describe one of those awesome moments?
Yeah, there have been quite a few at the conventions, and it's so eye-opening. Like we talked about earlier, that's what makes you want to do your best at this role, because there's this one little girl named Cassandra who I think I've spoken about her before. She's just so cool. She cosplays as characters from Green Arrow. She has it's a wheelchair, but they transformed it into an Arrowmobile, and she has a full leather suit. Now she also has one for Black Siren as well. I think she has one for Canary maybe, but she is just, she's so awesome. And she said to me, she said a few of us last, I don't know where I saw her, but before I go into surgery, I have pictures of you, and then they put them all over the walls, and I think about that before I go into surgery, and then when I come out, you guys are there, and I know that I'm going to heal. And I guess stuff like that, it makes it real. It takes something that's in a fantasy world and it makes it real. And that's something that as an actor I've never experienced before. I guess because I've never played a hero before, and you don't realize until that moment like what a responsibility it is that it carries.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful story. Like, I'm like almost I'm tearing up over here.
I know.
It's
hard. I know. I know. It's so cool. It's surreal.
So I kind of want to get back a little bit to talking about the show. One of the big draws with the Arrowverse is these like huge crossovers that you guys have, and they do really well with the ratings on the CW. And do you have any idea of like what we might see if you guys get renewed for season 7? What that next big crossover might be?
To be honest, I haven't heard a single thing about the next crossover. Like, I have heard things about sort of where the trajectory of next season would go, but I have no idea how it would tie into the crossover. The only crossover-ish thing that I'm aware of right now is for the end of this season in the finale. I just found out that Katie Loss is coming back, which has already been announced and everything, but you might already know that.
Yeah.
So for the actual crossover, I don't know.
So Constantine is going to be joining the Legends of Tomorrow as a full-time regular next season.
I'm so excited. Yes.
And he's shown up in Arrow. He had that huge show that on NBC, and he's obviously a fan favorite. Is there any, maybe not Constantine, but is there any kind of hero you want to see brought into Arrow that you think would work well with Donna Drake, or maybe even work against her as like kind of a primary antagonist?
It's funny that you should mention Constantine because he's like 100% on the top of that list. And it's partially because, the way that I started out in the DC universe was on Constantine, and I was just in one episode. But I would love to, like, now as this character have that tie in again. I also love Matt Ryan in real life. Like, he's just the coolest person, and I would absolutely love to see him team up with him. So then who else? Iris from The Flash. Just any of the girls, I think Supergirl and Dinah would be awesome. I think Iris would be awesome. Even, just the Dinah and Felicity mission would be awesome. I would love to just, do some, girl missions with anybody from these universes. That would be really fun.
Well, I think that's kind of all I've had. This was awesome. I highly enjoyed it.